neuroscience, quantum physics, biology, plant medicine, non-dual tantric meditative practices. We will be exploring these concepts with experts to provide insight. Get ready to melt reality with us. Today, we're so excited to interview two disruptive creative experts on music and the brain. Masha Brodskaya and her partner, Brian Forbes, recorded my brainwaves, making the music that you will hear throughout this episode. Let me repeat that again. They recorded my brainwaves and turned them into music. It's madness. Forbes magazine describes Masha as a musician, producer, educator, and entrepreneur, a VR pioneer who is merging classical performance, neuroscience, and holistic body practices into a one-of-a-kind experience. Oh, and she's also a violin Borg with impeccable otherworldly styles. This is a quote unquote from Forbes. Masha is a Grammy-nominated recording artist, composer, and one-woman orchestra, indie pop and electric producer, singer, multi-instrumentalist, violin virtuoso. She's also a VR and AR neuroscience music pioneer and an innovator across the board. She's the winner of the Independent Music Awards. She's also an activist, human rights, and peace advocate. In her creative work, Masha bridges music with virtual and augmented realities, art and fashion, as well as neuroscience for artistic, educational, therapeutic, and cultural diplomacy purposes. Masha is also the founder and director of the Global Creative Initiative, and this is an incredible program. It's the CGI Planet, a virtual interactive concert.
It's a GCI.
Oh, GCI. Masha is also the founder and director of Global Creative Initiative, GCI Planet, a virtual interactive concert and smart educational platform, a nonprofit organization that utilizes music as therapy and cultural diplomacy. She's working with children musician prodigies from around the world and supporting children and youth in hospitals, orphanages, and refugees camps worldwide, as well as kids with disabilities. Masha, I had the personal privilege of online participating in this global concert, and I was just moved to tears. Masha is also the co-founder and CEO of NexVox, a technology company specializing in brainwave music therapy. As a frequent speaker on art and tech, Masha has shared the stage with Al Gore, Tim Berners-Lee, Vint Cerf, and many others. She's been featured in Forbes magazine, the New York Times, PBS, Newsweek, CBS, and Fox News, many others. Her partner, Brian Forbes, is also meteoric. Brian is a Grammy Award-winning producer, guitarist, composer, and co-founder of Amid Records. He is the co-founder and CTO of NexVox, as well as the co-founder and technical director of GCI Planet. He has been a meditator and energy worker for over 30 years and has trained with enlightened master Ananda Abhinav for over a decade. He is a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner. Brian won a Grammy award with the Argentinian virtuoso pianist composer Fernando Otero, and is currently making music as his electronic alter ego, Admiral. He is continuing his studies in neuroscience at Johns Hopkins University. Welcome, Masha and Brian. It's incredible to have you here. Masha, I'd like to start with your music itself. Can you share with our audience your background, when you first started to play music, and how you were trained?
Thank you so much, Jody. Hello, David. Thank you so much for having us here on your podcast. It's so much fun. It's also an honor, and I'm looking forward to our conversation, just sharing something with you. And when you're asking me about like music and sharing something, like you just said, so much, you did an amazing job, like going through the whole list of everything that I've been doing, and when people ask me, it's like, oh, how on earth you managed to do so many things simultaneously? And it's only because they're all coming from the same place, and I really combine them because music, spirituality, like mental health, these are the things that are in the core of everything that I'm doing. This is the only reason why I'm actually capable to do all of these things. And speaking of music itself, Well, basically, I've been playing music since I remember myself. Since I was 4, I was already doing it professionally. Since I was 6, I was already living and studying in a boarding school for musically gifted children in Ukraine. This is where I grew up. Like I was seeing my parents only once a week or once in 2 weeks. Was surrounded by these amazing child prodigies, and the whole approach was like, if you don't participate and don't win in international competitions, you're out. And this heavy-handed approach apparently works for me, like it does kick my butt, it inspires me. I don't like kind of soft approach. This is one of my character features. I like being like forced. I like being just like kicked, and just like, come on, you can do better, 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 better. Kind of almost like Stanislavski like approach else or like as well. Just like, I don't believe you again. so so this is kind of important to put there as part of my personality, which of course has been driving everything that I've been doing, and and comes through and across everything. So like, both of my parents are professional musicians, so it was kind of inevitable, and I'm very grateful for that environment at home, in my school, in my life. And I have always been combining playing music with creating music and improvising music, in terms of combining such genres as classical music, which I originally was trained in, but also jazz music and improvisation, because my father was an amazing both classically trained composer and pianist, but also in jazz. So kind of all of these different elements, have always been intertwined very organically in everything that I'm doing. And at first, in my life, I was kind of doing a lot of things within music, such as playing violin, playing piano, singing, composing, improvising. Then, just like later on, other things such as technology came to my world and also brought a lot of very interesting combinations, because I love mixing things, creating new things. And this is also, I think, the only way how we can discover something new, actually, just using the experience that has been around, mixing different colors. This is the only way how we can discover some new shadows, and new colors. So this is something that has always been my approach, and I have always been blessed, really blessed, by God, by universe, by being surrounded by like-minded people, through all my life. As I said, like family, school, university. Then like later on when I came to the United States with Brian, and it has been really amazing, and I'm very, very grateful. And I also just want to put it out there, just universe is hearing and listening, so just thank you so much, the universe, for all of these blessings. And Jody, meeting you, is definitely one of them, and now David, so I'm very grateful.
Well, Masha and Brian, welcome. Masha, you had mentioned that you were born in Ukraine, which is kind of incredible. How has the invasion affected your work and your social activism?
Well, it's been hard, and as I say, because I was born on the border, so genetically I am half Ukrainian, half Russian. Culturally, I'm Ukrainian, so my heart has been bleeding on both sides, for Ukraine and for Russia. As much as I can, I'm trying to stay away from politics, because I don't believe in fairness of politics. I don't believe in politicians, unfortunately, and I don't believe a lot of things, that we have been told, because there is a lot of propaganda. Of course, there are some things that we can definitely differentiate, just like good from evil. But even there, there are a lot of difficulties. So this is my reason why I'm staying away from politics and from military. I'm only concentrated on those who are in danger and are suffering. And those, unfortunately, have been Ukrainian people, and especially Ukrainian women and Ukrainian children. So through everything that I've been doing, through the nonprofit that I have with Brian, GCI Planet, through for-profit, through all of these connections that we've been able to make, like throughout years and from the beginning of the war, we've been trying to support those who are suffering the most. So we've been sending a lot of humanitarian aid to Ukraine and to the borders, different countries that are bordering with Ukraine, supporting specifically civilians, children, women, elderly. So this is my attitude to anything and everything. And next time when Russian people are in such situation, or whoever is going to be in this situation, I will be there and I will be standing with those people, doing everything I can to help.
Totally understood about not getting into the political aspects, and we don't really talk much about those things on the podcast. But with respect to your art, has the fact of the invasion affected sort of how you look at your art and what you're doing these days, or is it really does it really not affect it?
I think that I would be sad if such thing as politics had enough power to affect my creativity and my artistry. So this is not what is happening, and I am fighting and will be fighting not to allow it to happen. As I said, I've been blessed working with amazing Ukrainian artists, working also with amazing Russian artists. And Ukraine is the country that has made me who I am as a personality, as an artist, as a composer, as a performer, as a creative thinker. So I will forever be grateful for that. And
it inspired the Youth for Ukraine concert and the piece.
Absolutely, yeah.
Featured.
Of course, I just thought that maybe we will just talk later in the interview in more detail.
No. Please tell us more about the GCI initiative. I watched it personally, and for kids and young people from all over the world. Please share a little bit more about that.
Thank you, darling. So basically, a month after the beginning of the war, with GCI, Brian and I were put together this huge international live virtual humanitarian concert, You for Ukraine, where some amazing musical prodigies from Ukraine and from other countries took part in it. And also we were supported by such celebrities as Gloria Estefan, Dionne Warwick, Al Di Meola, Rita Cosby, Armando Sante, who all stand together with us to get attention to what is happening, and to support those people who needed the support the most, as we discussed before. And we were able to raise some money, but the most important thing that happened, that we were able to create some smart partnerships through which we were able to send much more than we were able to raise, because you can do only this much when you're on your own, but collectively putting our hearts and our hands and our brains together, this is where we can really make a positive difference. And this is what has been the most profound outcome of this You for Ukraine concert and humanitarian program that we have started a year ago. And we are continuing sending humanitarian aid, supporting Ukrainian children, Ukrainian women, and elderly as much as possible.
Incredible. For our listeners, there'll be a link where you can support their work. They're a nonprofit, and you will be moved to tears by these talented, amazing young musicians, some who have more challenges than others, refugees, young people dealing with great challenges, but they are musicians and artists, and you can support them in all sorts of ways. Now, you told me the NexVox original story the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And I want to switch over to NexVox now, because it's such an incredible thing. You were sitting in Carnegie Hall listening to someone else perform when you began to connect the musical notes they were playing with your understanding of brainwaves. And I really think the only way you could do that is like a painter where you study classical art and then you abstract it. Well, you're so trained classically that I think you're sitting there listening to this classical music, and then you had an understanding of the gamma brainwaves, gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta. And so where on earth did this idea come from?
Yeah, it's very interesting, to hear you talk about it, just because from listening to it, like actually from almost like kind of outside. It does sound kind of just like crazy, you know, like either futuristic or otherworldly. And actually it kind of is, and it's for sure magical. And, you know, there are a lot of things that I have noticed, you know, and been appreciative in my all creative processes, that a lot of times it's difficult for me to take a credit, you know, because it feels like it's been channeled, you know, through the universe, and universe just picked me for some reason to bring something from the ethereal to material worlds. And this is another gratitude that I have, you know, for this ability and for this trust from the universe towards me. So the story with Carnegie Hall was really, really funny, was really interesting. So I was invited there by a friend of mine. And just during their performance, you know, I was thinking, oh, how cool would it be to actually bring such high tech as virtual and augmented reality to such a snobbish world as classical music, and specifically Carnegie Hall. You know, you cannot go any more kind of skeptical and snobbish than this, guys. And and by that, yeah, like David is agreeing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, that's like it's very true. And by that moment, you know, Brian and I, we had already been working on with such technology as virtual and augmented reality, because at some point, you know, I got obsessed with an idea of visualizing physical and emotional trajectory of a live performance, you know, just like think about it for a second. So we've created an augmented violin with which I was performing, creating in VR, virtual reality, sound responsive visuals that were created by two things: by my movement and by the sound that I was producing. And so that such thing as actually making the invisible visible, making the inaudible audible, the subconscious conscious, you know, just like was already there. And in Carnegie Hall, you know, it kind of was another download that actually was almost like an extension to go further, you know, because before that, yes, I had been surrounded by friends in neuroscience, you know, and for Brian, it has always been, you know, it's like a very real thing, you know, that he's been studying a lot of that. And but I never kind of had this specific idea. I didn't invent the idea of putting these two together. So I just channeled it, you know, I like literally saw how brainwaves can be represented by melodies, chords, harmonies, and all of this, you know, and I never heard about anyone working in that direction, you know. So actually I came home and like literally I spent about like 2 hours staring to the ceiling. This is how my creative process works, you know, like I need to see the final product before I do anything. I need to see the final destination, you know, and then I do reverse engineering from there. Okay, like this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and now let's just like do this reverse engineering. So with these thoughts, you know, with this absolutely kind of sounding crazy idea, I came to Brian, you know, just like because he was the most advanced math scientist in my world, you know, and hoping that he will not send me, you know, to a mental hospital, or kind of, you know, just like, oh, Mashinka, this is so cool, you know, like this is so cute. You're like, yeah, like you know, you have very interesting like imagination. No, he took it really seriously, you know, and not only took it seriously just by word, but by action specifically, you know, like he had started to work on it. He had started to work on it right away, and during the course of a few months, you know, we were able to move closer, and we ended up with having a working prototype in our hands. And this is where it was. Wow, guys, that was real magic. So many interesting insights and, you know, revelations happened since then, and through that, and because of that, you know, the whole appreciation of body and mind, the whole equilibrium and this body-mind connection, the whole thing that actually brain doesn't really belong to us. We're not just owning it, doing whatever we want with that. You know, it's a collaboration. We we're borrowing these bodies, we're borrowing these brains. I also don't think that brain creates. I really think that brain works as a transistor and transmitter. This is how my understanding of that is. And that was so magical when I first heard the music that was created by my brain in real time, unfiltered. That was unbelievable. And
So
guys,
Masha, so let me see if
yes,
I can sort of
I
bring
know.
us.
Like
No,
I
it's
get so
great.
excited.
It's
I can
wonderful.
keep
It's
going.
wonderful. I love it. So, all right, you get this idea, and you cut, and you obviously don't know how to implement the idea, and you come to Brian, and
Exactly.
Brian's your guy. And Brian, so tell us a little bit about when Masha comes to you with this idea. How do you figure out how to implement it in the world? But also tell us a little bit about your background and sort of how you come to this, and sort of how you approach these kinds of problems.
So when Masha came to me, it was really seemed like a unique opportunity to fuse my obsessions that I've had for years with technology and computer programming and AI, and fusing those with music and with meditation and sort of energetics. And essentially, it was almost one of these movie type moments where, she came over to the apartment and was like, "Oh, I had this flash of inspiration," and basically the way I remember it is just almost holding myself up in a cave for a week, just almost furiously programming and figuring out just sort of over and over light bulbs of, oh, it can work like this, it can work like this, and then all of that coming down to that moment where Masha and I were able to sit down and really hear for the first time, and just I remember just almost bursting into tears, like realizing
Not
this.
almost.
Well, yeah,
You did. I did.
both of us did.
Yes,
Yeah.
both of us did.
And then the other light bulb that really came through was when we realized that this was creating this incredible positive feedback loop, and creating a way that the brain could heal itself and sort of enhance this mind body connection that we've all sort of been losing with technology. So it's almost it's almost creating a fix for some of the problems that the technology itself creates.
That's wonderful. So let's build on this a little bit. And I'm familiar with neurofeedback, right, from the very sort of this new trend in therapeutics now, and it's really an interesting thing. But you and Masha are pioneering this notion where you're taking the biofeedback from the brain and turning it into music, which I think is utterly fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about these correlations between the musical notes produced by the brain and potential therapeutic effects, and some of the research that is being done in this really fascinating area.
I think, so essentially we're constantly walking a fine line between the pure neurofeedback, and I think what we believe is that there's a lot of counterintuitive things going on when you try really hard to control the brain. As we know, I think there's some studies that basically show that the subconscious is making over 90% of our decisions for us, that you can see that decisions have been made 30 seconds or so before any action is taken. So we're really focused on what is happening in consciousness, and even investigating with brainwaves, like almost what comes first, the chicken or the egg, where if consciousness is not localized in the brain, we're almost trying to channel, let's say consciousness is transmitting in and we're like a radio antenna, so we're almost trying to intercept that and translate that into something that can be understood intuitively which is the universal language of music and mathematics. And then almost in two fashions. The one is making, maybe creating a crack in the egg, so to speak, where people who haven't considered what is consciousness, bringing them to that question naturally, almost to that state of wonder, that state of transcendence. And then on another level, making sort of neurofeedback training and raising alpha and raising theta and even raising, well, we can talk about melting reality in different ways.
Yes.
With, you know, that's for the more advanced practitioners.
Like Jody is.
Yeah, exactly. Next time we'll get into some of that. But you know, and then making that more of an intuitive experience rather than sort of feeling like, oh, you're in a science experiment. You know, we strive to make everything beautiful and sacred.
Right.
And you know, yeah.
So your worries, David, about it's gonna sound beep 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 beep. No, it's gonna sound absolutely beautiful. This is what we have been taking care of.
And so could I ask a question about that, like a tactical question? Did you then from alpha, beta, theta, you know, all the degrees of frequency, did you apply notes from the lowest octave up so that the notes move with the frequency?
I mean, I can't really get into discussing specific IP, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's we've developed the AI algorithm is very advanced in terms of how it's processing things, and the other amazing thing is that we are essentially as we're generating this experience, we're also able to take in a massive amount of brainwave data, and on the back end, utilizing machine learning and large language models and these things to process, so that you know, we're learning more and more about the states of consciousness and, you know, cognitive performance. And so we're learning as we process and essentially developing different algorithms. So, you know, depending on the process that we're trying to apply. So some people need that almost psychedelic adjacent journeying process to give them the crack in consciousness. Some people want to raise their alpha, you know, to get into a deeper, or even a lot of what we've been doing is even working with a 30-year Navy SEAL veteran, Team 6, top of the food chain trainer, on working with PTSD victims that basically they can't close their eyes for a minute or two and even really think about meditating. And we've been able to develop an experience where essentially neurohacking, where, you know, you don't know that you're meditating, right? So, and getting them into that alpha state, you know, and basically, you know, and that also works for non-PTSD people. You know, we sort of are in a place where meditation is thrown around now by, you know, every family doctor, and everybody suggests mindfulness and this and that. Meanwhile, people are almost anti-mindful, being in their phones and the social media all day and everything. And a lot of them can't meditate. And it's almost, you know, it's almost a shame, and people won't talk about it because they feel embarrassed. And so we're sort of trying to work on both levels of the spectrum, where we're offering a biohacking for meditation, where people who have extreme difficulty in doing it can get themselves into an alpha state. And then we're also trying to offer, you know, high performance training for, you know, people like yourselves who are advanced meditators and maybe want to explore some, you know, some deeper alpha states, deeper theta states, you know, in different ways.
So, you know, I came to your studio and you put the headpiece on, and I went into such a deep, restful place. My pulse slowed down. my nervous system calmed down, my breathing, and the music itself created this. I'm a meditator, and I can tell you that the music itself created such a deeper state of calm just sitting there. And so I wanted to know, like, what's next then for NexVox, and how can our listeners help you with the development of this product and its research? You know, where are you taking this product now? This technique, I guess.
I would love to answer this question, but I'm so excited. But I also recognize that I talked so much, so I'm gonna give the word to Brian.
No worries. We have time. We're good. We're good.
Go ahead, Brian. I will jump in.
So, we are, currently our research is focused on understanding how the technology can influence states of consciousness and cognitive performance. And, we're just, we're working on releasing an app, hopefully by the time this podcast is available.
Yes.
We're working on it with a number of, leading thought leaders, meditators, energy workers, on, encoding energetics into the process, and basically having everyone be able to experience it, eventually just have it in their own pocket. Until that happens, we're doing retreats, across the world. We're have something coming up at Blue Spirit in Costa Rica.
Tasmania, Singapore. Yeah.
Are you working at all with private clients, or not really yet in the studio?
We do. Yes,
You do.
We have been working with private clients who either come to us or we go to them. And as Brian mentioned, retreats as well. And also, like one of the things that we are working on, it's just like deeper integration of AI and machine learning. This is also something that it works right now.
And so, if people want to, get in touch through links, we're going to be offering, we do offer private sessions, and we can offer, where the retreats are happening that we're doing. And then, of course, as when the app is out, that will be a way of everybody can connect. We're doing a very limited, I think we're going to build a limited 500 person release. When it
limited
comes out,
community of 500 people who would have access to NexVox.
As we're developing, and then sort of the release will grow from there.
And so that will be the fall of 2023.
Yeah.
Yes. Almost there.
So exciting, guys. So exciting.
Very
so
exciting.
We thought, now that you've created this technology and you've produced this beautiful system for listening to your brain, let's listen to Jody's brain.
Yay!
For a few moments. Wow. That's really that's really amazing. So just tell us a little bit about how people will benefit from using NexVox, Masha or Brian, whoever.
Yeah. I guess we both, would be happy to answer this question. As Brian mentioned before, that it is a brain hack, for those people who otherwise are not able to meditate, and it allows them, just like it gives them access to something that otherwise they wouldn't have access to due to like severe level of depression, anxiety, post-traumatic syndrome, attention deficit, or like you name them. And basically, yes, it also improves like focus and performance, and it improves people's mood and sleep, and yes, lower blood pressure. And we've been doing it for over 3 years, and we've done like hundreds of like deep case studies. And Brian, would you actually like to say a couple of words about our clinical studies that we are working on?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on developing a comprehensive clinical study at Vanderbilt with their integrative psychiatry department,
Yeah.
as well as a couple projects I'm not really allowed to talk about yet. And
We will come back in the fall and we will tell you more.
Are you planning to Brian? Are you planning to publish any of this in the literature?
yeah, I mean, hopefully,
Yep.
you know, that's definitely all in the works. The yeah, it's working deeply on and integrating the AI and machine learning is going to be, I think it's going to basically create its own positive feedback loop and really push things forward as we're able to integrate that more on both sides. Yeah, just really excited for where everything can go.
Yeah, it is very exciting. And we actually, we know from what we have seen already that NexVox will be able to help a lot of people and hopefully to take a lot of people from like heavy drugs, heavy, medications. Yeah. This is also very important for us, because as it is, NexVox is psychedelic adjacent. Of course, it can be used, in combination for therapeutic purposes with like psilocybin or ketamine or other treatments, but for those people for who have, just some no's for using such, it will definitely give them this psychedelic adjacent. It will give them the trip. It will give them those benefits that they cannot get through medicine.
It's incredible. My goodness. I'm super excited to hear about these studies. I knew you were preparing them, and I know everyone's just going to be so interested and excited to learn about what you discover. Masha and Brian, thank you so much for being here. Masha, thank you for your work in the Ukraine and everything both of you are doing with NexVox. I also wanted to mention that Masha is a massively creative violinist, and we've added a link in our show notes so that you can listen to her work and download her work. She's an amazing classical musician, but also super contemporary world music. And so Masha, and Brian, thank you so much for being with us today. And you can learn more about them and stay in touch in our show notes.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you so much, David. Such pleasure. Thank you for having us and letting us talk. I know we're very excited about it. So we talked a lot.
It's a pleasure. This is a podcast. We're all about talking.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Exactly. This is where talk is appreciated. Thank you guys for your beautiful initiative. Thank you so much.
Now, this is cool. The music you have been listening to is actually my consciousness in motion. To create this hypnotic music, Masha Brodskaya of NexVox and her team connected musical notes to the frequency of my brainwaves from gamma to delta. The team at NexVox will be exploring how listening to your own brainwaves can provide health benefits from reducing your blood pressure to calming anxiety. Visit our show notes to learn more about NexVox.
Exploring Reality Maybe is written, produced, fact-checked, and edited by Jody R. Weiss and David Schwartz. Research support is provided by Semicolon Connects. Music produced by NexVox.
Visit our website at exploringrealitymaybe.org to find show notes, transcripts, bios, and to learn more. If you like the show, please visit our website to donate.